Good morning to everyone. Well, this occasion, I will going to read uh, one of my favorite suttas from the Majjhima Nikaya. Is the discourse number 43, Mahavedallasutta, the great series of questions and answers. So we're going to dive in a deep aspect of the Dhamma. So I will share screen with you now. So, yeah. So I'm going to use the Nanamolitera and Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Sawati in Jeta's Grove and at Apindika's Park. Then, when it was evening, the Venerable Mahakotita rose from meditation, went to the Venerable Sariputta, and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he sat down at one side and said to the Venerable Sariputta, "Wisdom, one who is unwise is said, friend. With reference to what is this said? One who is unwise. One does not wisely understand, friend. That is why it said, one who is unwise." Well, for show some background here, uh, the Venerable Mahakotita and of course the Venerable Sariputta were arahants. So of course they both have the knowledge for all these questions, but we can assume, and I think that that this information is also in the quotes, that Venerable Mahakotita uh, with him they came several uh, novices, several young monks, and with the Venerable Sariputta too, maybe there were uh, several young monks, and this series of questions and answers, not only the answers are really great answers, but also the questions that Venerable Mahakotita did were very inspired questions that bring a lot of reflection about the Dhamma. So uh, the first question is, who is unwise? And the Venerable Sariputta said, one does not wisely understand. So when we're talking about understanding, we also have to understand that the suttas are talking about the dependent origination. And in this case, Venerable Sariputta clarify this question. And what doesn't one wisely understand? One does not wisely understand this is suffering. One does not wisely understand this is the origin of suffering. One does not wisely understand this is the cessation of suffering. One does not wisely understand this is the way to lead into the cessation of suffering. So the Four Noble Truths are when someone not wisely understand, it means that at that moment, that person is ignorant of this Four Noble Truth. Uh, when I say ignorant, I want to be very specific. Maybe he or she uh, knows the Four Noble Truths, but at that moment in their mind, they forget the Four Noble Truths. And this is the cause of suffering, because when you don't experientially apply the Four Noble Truths, you are cast by the ignorance. And another way to look at is these Four Noble Truths. If you pay attention closely, you will see that these Four Noble Truths are two pairs, and one is conditioned by the next. In this case, the first one, this is suffering, is conditioned by the origin, that is craving, and the cessation is conditioned by the Noble Eightfold Path. So the Four Noble Truths are an exposition of the conditionality and show also a very brief exposition of the dependent origination. So when we don't live the Four Noble Truths here and now, we are ignorant. One, so I continue, one does not wisely understand, friend. That is why it is said, one who is unwise. Saying, good friend, the Venerable Mahakotita delighted and rejoices in the Venerable Sariputta's words. Then he asked him a further question. One who is wise, is said, friend, with reference to what is this said, one who is wise. One wisely understands, friend, that is why it is said, one who is wise. What does one wisely understand? One wisely understands this is suffering, one wisely understands this is the origin of suffering, one wisely understands this is the cessation of suffering, one wisely understands this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. One wisely understands, friend. That is why it is said, one who is wise. So here is the opposite thing. What is the meaning of wisdom, of or the wisely understanding of the reality? So the Four Noble Truths are a method, a path itself to the relinquishment, the abandon of all suffering. And this is very important to understand. It's not something that we need to be attached on it, but we have to apply in every single moment. So the way to see these Four Noble Truths is through the Noble Eightfold Path. We have to have right view. Remember to observe that everything has conditions and causes. And this right view, mundane right view, is strongly based on the law of karma, cause and effect. So with this in mind, if we remember this, immediately we're going to see that any intention that arises in our mind is very important, that it has to be loving, friendly, and kind. Because if not, we are going to suffering the consequence of this intention. And this leads us to the next steps, that the harmonious speech, the harmonious action, and the right livelihood. And then we have the core, the heart of the noble path, that is right effort. Because right effort is something that we can lean on it to recognize how, when our mind is in an unwholesome state, release that unwholesome state and return with a relaxed mind to our object of meditation, or to some wholesome state of mind. This will be assist by mindfulness, that is, remember to observe how mind attention moves from one thing to another. So we have that these three aspects. right view, right effort, and right mindfulness are strong aspects of the Noble Eightfold Path. And when these three are, and I, when these three are in line, and I could also add right intention, it will go into arise right collectedness, samadhi, sama samadhi. The mind will be stable. The mind will be with a lot of comfort, and this stabilization of the mind bring us equanimity. And this is very important because the equanimity also influence mindfulness. So we have a, a virtuous circle. And that is because it's the way to lead into the cessation of suffering. Because when we apply the noble path, especially right effort and right mindfulness, all this with a view of right view, understanding that the only thing that exists is causes and conditions and the fruits of that, this gradually will liberate the mind and will go into train and mature our liberation. So this is the the base for wisely understand. Consciousness, oh yeah, sorry. Consciousness is said, friend. What is reference to what is consciousness said? It cognize, friends. That is why consciousness is said. What does it cognize? It cognize this is pleasant, this is painful, this is neither painful nor pleasant. It cognize, friends. That is why consciousness is said. So here it's talking about vijnana, and it's very interesting because vijnana is the aspect of our mind that recognize what is going on. Uh, when vijnana is arising, our attention arise towards our object of meditation or our object in any of the six false bases. And here is very interesting because we can cognize pleasant, painful, neither painful nor pleasant. So the consciousness is always related with feeling and perception. And I don't want to comment more here because in another part of the sutta we're going to dive deeply in this. So wisdom and consciousness, friend, are this state conjoined or disjoined? Very interesting question. And it is possible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. Wisdom and consciousness, friend, these states are conjoined, not disjoined. It is impossible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. For what one wisely understands, that one cognizes, and what one cognizes, that one wisely understands. That is why these states are conjoined, not disjoined, and it is impossible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. So, and I want to read the next one. What is the difference, friend, between wisdom and consciousness, these states that are conjoined, not disjoined? The difference, friend, between wisdom and consciousness, these states that are conjoined, not disjoined, is this. Wisdom is to be developed, consciousness is to be fully understood. So this is a very important statement here. So first of all, the Venerable Sariputta said that wisdom and consciousness are two states that are conjoined, are mutually conditionate. This is very important because if we put this uh, statement of the Sariputta in the background of the dependent origination, we're going to see that consciousness is dependent upon sankharas, mental formation or mental preparation. And this is a very interesting thing because what we cognize is through our previous experience, our previous preparation of mental formations. So our consciousness will be uh, influenced by formations, mental formation. And it's dependent upon where are these formations root that maybe we can see with wisdom or not. So, what is a formation? There is a lot of Sankara is a very uh, have a lot of meaning. Sankara is something that is prepared, that is fabricated, but also Sankara is the result of the Sankara. For instance, we can say that intention is a Sankara. Uh, so it's very interesting because it depending upon our intention, that will arise the quality of our consciousness at that moment. And then this declaration that what is difference between wisdom and consciousness is very interesting, the answer, because wisdom is to be developed. So we have to develop our wisdom through twin, through samatha and vipassana. And this is very important because the development of wisdom lead us to liberation eventually. And in this practice, we can see little by little that our mind going towards more and more space, more and more patience, more and more uh, a full view of a great perspective of the reality. When I say a great or a different perspective of our reality, is start to see the things as they really are. And then with this wisdom developed, is developed, consciousness will be fully understood. So we're going to understand what is the process of the consciousness. So the consciousness is something that is related from one side to mental formation, for is dependent upon our previous experience. And on the other hand, consciousness is also related to namarupa, name and form. So consciousness will be arise dependent upon, for example, there is an eye, there is a form, and consciousness arise. And this is very interesting because when there is a good working eye and when it's a form or a color, the consciousness arises. So at that moment, we are recognize what we are seeing. And here the words can be tricky because the only thing that is happening at that moment is not that I am recognized, it's just the recognition of the action of seeing. Uh, this is, remember me now, the Bahia Sutta that many times Delson Armstrong quote in his Dhamma talk. In the seen, there's only the see. In the hear, there's only the heard. In the sense, there's only the sense. And in the cognize, only the cognize. So it's very important to understand that the only thing that is happening at that moment is the action itself. There is no actor behind. And this is very important and really is a, for me, is a feeling of liberation because we can see that the only thing that occurs here and now, right here and now, is the action. And the actor is just a thought, just an idea, not a reality. In order to see the things as they really are, we have to develop our wisdom through meditation, through keep the precept, through generosity. And here we're going to dive a little more. Feeling. Feeling is said, friend. What is referring to what is feeling said? It feels, friends. That is why feeling is said. What does it feel? It feels pleasure, pain, feel neither pain, neither nor pleasure. It feels. That is why feeling is said. Perception, perception. It said, friend, with reference to what is perception said. It perceives, friend. That is why perception is said. What does it perceive? It perceives blue, it perceives yellow, it perceives red, it perceives white. It perceived, friend. That is why perception is said. So we have here this another pair, feeling and perception. So feeling, what is feeling? Feeling is Vedana. Vedana is our present experience. And perception is the labeling of that experience. So what this is why here the Venerable Sariputta first describe feeling as pleasant, painful, nor pleasant, nor painful. And this is very interesting because he uh, used the same description to describe consciousness. So, and then he defined what is perception. Perception is the process of the mind that labeling the experience, blue, yellow, red, white, or even we can see a blue wall or maybe a loud sound. So always feeling, perception are intertwined. And also, like here is where this relationship between feeling, perception, and consciousness are exposed in this sutta. So I continue. Feeling, perception, and consciousness, friend, are this state conjoined or disjoined? And it is possible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them. Feeling, perception, and consciousness, friend, these states are conjoined nor disjoined, and it is impossible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them. For what one feels, that one perceives, and what one perceives, that one cognizes. That is why these states are conjoined and not disjoined, and it is impossible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them. So this is a very deep understanding. This is a very deep answer. So we have feeling, perception, and consciousness are three aspects of the mind that are related with each other. We have the feeling, we have the perception, that is the aspect that names that feeling, and then we have arises the consciousness, that is that the recognition of the sensory perception process. Because this happened very, very, very fast in one moment, there is 1,000 of these moments. It's really difficult to see this uh, this process, feeling, perception, consciousness. That is the reason because Sariputta said, what one feels, that one perceives. So the perception is dependent not totally on feeling, because feeling is dependent on contact and perception is also dependent on contact. And what one perceives, what that one cognizes. So when I perceive something, and when I uh, said that one perceives, is they have to have the memory of that. So perception is also related to our memory, to a previous experience that I could recognize. I could cognize that again. So this is the importance of the practice of the meditation, because when we arrive, for instance, to quiet mind, when we enter to neither perception nor non-perception, the mind is so calm and so void of anything. And if we stay in this state for a long periods of time, we're going to see that nothing is happening. And we see the quiet mind, and eventually we're going to see the mind itself, pure consciousness. But here in this jhana, in this ayatana, if something moves and start to appear in our mind, or like a little light or little movement, we at that moment can see uh, the birth of the preparation, the birth of the formation. And even we can see the minimum movement, the intention to just go out of this state. In that little movement, we see craving. So this is why the jhanas are so important in the development of the mind and the Noble Eightfold Path. It's not that the jhana itself have value. Of course, it's a very beautiful state, any of them, and give us a beautiful experience, but also give us the possibility to see in our mind landscape how mind is going little by little enter to the cessation of the conditions. So the mind, little by little, is more and more tranquil, and because of that tranquility, because of that collectedness, that equanimity grows. And when we feel this equanimity, this collectedness, and strong mindful, we start to see that any movement is dukkha. Because when something moves, we have to pay attention to that. And it's really tiresome. So, in this particular state of the eighth jhana, neither perception nor non-perception, we can develop a strong disenchantment, a strong equanimity. That is disenchantment. And also this will bring eventually dispassion and liberation. But the jhanas are the process that allowed us to see this process of cognition, this process that is the dependent origination, how mind works, how this causality is manifests in our mind. So we cannot disjoin these three states, but we can see the difference between them. We can see this process as process are not mine or myself or my or me. I don't know this novel by Mind Alone. I don't remember. Okay, it seems like something that I don't remember to have written in the printed sutta. Well, friend, what can be known by purified mind consciousness released from the five faculties? Friend, by purified mind consciousness released from the five faculties, the base of infinite space can be known thus. Space is infinite, the base of infinite consciousness can be known, consciousness is infinite, and the base of nothingness can be known thus. There is nothing. Here, here the Venerable Sariputta is talking about what is when we arrive to a purified mind conscious that is released from the five faculties. I think in this case, it's talking about the five senses. Because when we when we train in meditation and we uh, experience anything of these three ayatanas, the infinite space, the base of infinite space, the base of infinite consciousness, and the base of nothingness, the five senses are really shut down. Not completely, but we enter in an immaterial world or in a mind world, mental world. So this is what happened when we enter in these three ayatanas. Friend, what is does one understand a state that can be known? Friend, one understands a state that can be known with the eye of wisdom. Friend, what is the purpose of wisdom? The purpose of wisdom, friend, is direct knowledge. The purpose is fully understanding. Its purpose is abandoning. So here with is oh sorry, yes, I remember now. Here is the is here knowable by mind alone is uh, a subtitle of this part of the sutta. So what is saying here is we can only know this uh, ayatanas by the mind alone. Um, so so here we have two questions. What does one understand a state that can be known? And the answer is one understands a state that can be known with the eye of wisdom. It is said that the eye of wisdom, of the eye of Dhamma, is open when someone enters the stream, because that person could see the causes and conditions, not at every moment, but they have enough wisdom to start to see the conditionality. Sometimes in the Sotapanna, uh, there will be some kind of attachment to any of the five aggregates, and maybe at that moment the eye of wisdom is shut down. But uh, maybe it will be very short periods of time. Uh, as the practitioner advance in the other three supramundane path, this eyes of wisdom is more available at any moment. And what is the purpose of wisdom? Really nice question. The purpose of wisdom, friend, is direct knowledge. So through wisdom uh, we can gain direct knowledge, because when we act upon wisdom, we are going to see direct knowledge, seeing the things as they really are. So wisdom is, inside wisdom, we can imply that there is mindfulness and equanimity. Its purpose is full understanding, so we have to understand things as they really are, and its purpose is abandoning. So here again is a great word, because the purpose of wisdom is not gain something, but abandoning all kind of identification with anything. So I always see the wisdom as a deep aspect of generosity, because the generosity is always abandoning, is always open the hand and give a warm heart in every action that we take in the world. So when we understand, we can abandon our wrong views or abandon our identification that bring so much suffering in us. So next continues a part of right view. Friend, how many conditions are there for arising of right view? Friend, there are two conditions. for arising right view, the voice of another, and wise attention. There are these two conditions for the arising of right view. This is very important because right view or harmonic view, as Bhante Vimalaramsi used to say, the voice of another. What is the voice of another? Generally, the voice of another is something, some Kalyanyamita, some spiritual friend that teach us or help us to hear the Dhamma. And wise attention. We have to pay attention to the voice of the other person, to the words, to the intention of the other person. So, wise attention is again not only to pay attention to something that bring us wholesome state of mind. This is a very recurrent conversation between me and some of my students because sometimes many of them want to talk about their problems and how they feel with their problems and what are the, 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 the origin of their problems. And this is a nonsense. There is nothing important in that conversation. So why? Because we are have at that moment unwise attention. We are talking about something that make me feel or make my mind feels constrict uh, like a fist. And that is not wisdom. That is fully identification. So we have to let go that, applying the 6 R's, and regain our mindfulness and stay in a very gentle way with the mind that is imbued in loving kindness. And from there, I can hear the voice of another. So it's really important this. We have to remember that right view is always assist by right effort and right mindfulness. In order to hear the advices or even the Dhamma in a Dhamma talk, I have to have uh, a, an open mind, a gentle mind, a loving mind. And then the words will be sink in my mind, and this will be great benefit for our practice. So we don't have to discuss our problems. We have to let it go. The simile that I use for this, that wisdom is in some house very practical in the Buddhism. If you put your hand on a fire, you're going to you're going to take out your hand immediately because you're going to feel that your hand is burning. So you feel pain. You don't start to ask question about, oh yes, how much pain I feel. I can stay here. No, you take out your hand of the fire, and that is wisdom. And this is the same aspect with our mind. So wise attention, yoniso manasikara, the attention that is rooted in wisdom, is I will be make contact with wholesome state of mind. And if my mind is somehow distracted by any of the hindrances, I will recognize, release that attention, relax, smile, and return to Yoniso Manasikara. I will bring my mind to uh, to a wholesome state of mind. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, or Upekkha, or any of the Brahma Viharas. Friends, by how many factors is right view assisted? When it has deliverances of mind for its fruits, deliverance of mind for its fruits and benefits, when it has deliverance by wisdom for its fruits, deliverance by wisdom for its fruits and benefit. Friend, right view is assisted by 5 factors. When it has deliverance of mind for its fruits, deliverance of mind for its fruits and benefits, when it has deliverance of by wisdom for its fruits, deliverance by wisdom or its fruits and benefit. Here, friend, right view is assisted by virtue, learning, discussion, serenity, and insight. Right view is assisted by these five factors, has deliverance of mind for its fruits, deliverance of mind for its fruits and benefits. It has deliverance by wisdom for its fruits, deliverance by wisdom for its fruits and benefit. So here we have why how right view is assisted by virtue, keeping the precept, a good conduct, uh, behavior, sorry, right conduct bring us the possibility that our mind will be softened and not don't feel remorse or restlessness. Learning, we have to have an open mind in order to learn something. So this is very interesting because before learn we have to be generous, we have to be open, and we have to give us the possibility to let go our opinion about the subject that we're about to learn. Discussion. So we have to talk about, in this case, the Dhamma, talk about what we are learning. Uh, these friendly exchanges, when we share this discussion with a friend, generally we will feel that our mind is uplifted. So it's really important to discuss about this in and not discuss about our problems, our identification. Just when I generally when I assist a Dhamma talk, or when I talk about something related to the Dhamma with a friend, or even with a student, many times I I came across to an insight in the share of these uh, words, serenity and insight, twin, tranquil wisdom inside meditation. So, in order to assist right view, we have to meditate. We have to be tranquil, and we have to develop this insight to see the things as they really are. Right view, assist being. Sorry, we continue. Being, friends. How many kinds of being are there? There are these three kinds of being, friend: sense-sphere being, fine material being, and immaterial being. So here the Venerable Sariputta is describing the three possibilities of the being, of the Baba, the existence. So we have sense-sphere being, that is all the hell realms, ghost realms, animal realm. In later uh, commentaries, we see the Asuras realm too, and the human realm, and the Deva realm, the six Deva realms. This is the sense-sphere being. Then we have the fine material being, that is the realms that corresponding with the Brahma worlds, that is from the first jhana to the fourth jhana, and any of these realms are divided inside. And then the immaterial beings, that is corresponding to the fourth ayatanas, the base of infinity space, the base of infinity consciousness, the base of nothingness, and the base of neither perception nor non-perception. Friend, how is the renewal of being in the future generated? Friend, renewal of being in the future is generated through the delighting in this and that on the part of beings who are hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving. So, until the time that we not be liberated from ignorance and craving, we are going to rebirth in any of these three uh, kinds of beings. And dependent upon our uh, karma, of our formation at the moment of death, that will be the base to our next rebirth. So this is the Venerable Mahakotita is uh, how how is occur this renewal of the being. Friend, how is a renewal of the being in the future not generated? Friend, with the fading away of ignorance, with the rising of true knowledge, with the cessation of craving, renewal of being in the future is not generated. So, when we complete the path and we develop enough our mind, we are going to, with the fading away of ignorance, here, when there is in our mind, there is no moment that this can ignorance could appear. We are with this will arise in the true knowledge, and this will be the cessation of craving, that is nibbana. But here is talking about the arahant, the person who is fully enlightened. Enlightened. So in that moment, I want sorry, the arahant is the person who is not will be will not re, uh, rebirth in any of these three sense spheres, sense these three kinds of being or three kinds of realms. The first jhana. Friends, what is the first jhana? Here, friend, secluded, quite secluded from sensual pleasure, secluded from unwholesome states, a bhikkhu enters upon and abides in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applying sustained thought. With rapture and pleasure born of seclusion, this is called the first jhana. So here, the Venerable Sariputta is describing the first jhana, and it's very interesting that he is describing in this very deep sutta the first jhana. So we can see here how important is the jhana practice. So here is give us a very clear definition. Secluded from sensual pleasure, it means here that we are not cut off from sensual pleasure, but we are secluded. Our mind is not pursuing the sensual pleasure. Secluded from unwholesome state, here is referring to let it go the five hindrances. And when the five hindrances is not in our mind, we are going to enter in the first jhana. Is accompanied by applied and sustained thought, vitaka and vichara, and with rapture and pleasure born from seclusion. This is called the first jhana. So we're going to feel this amazing joy or uplifted joy, and we're going to feel sukha, pleasure, very comfort in our body. So here, Mahakotita asks, friend, how many factors does the first jhana have? Friend, the first jhana has 5 factors. Here, when a bhikkhu has entered upon the first jhana, they occur apply thought, sustained thought, rapture, pleasure, and unification of mind. That is how the first jhana has 5 factors. Regarding this, so we have applied thought. We put our intention to make contact with our object of meditation, and we stay with that object of meditation. This is sustained thought, but also this is why we need, maybe when we start the meditation, maybe repeat in our mind, may my mind be happy, may my mind be peaceful, or whatever might be. And this is a verbalization in our mind. And this is vitaka and vichara. So these verbalizations are a thing that we say to us in order to get more tranquility. These two aspects, vitaka and vichara, will be disappear in the second jhana. But in the first, we have rapture, piti, that is joy, pleasure, sukha, comfort, and satisfaction, and the unification of mind. So this is important because unification of mind doesn't mean that we have to will be somehow so immersed in our object of meditation that we lose our mindfulness. That if we push too hard in our intention to be with the object of meditation, we are going to enter in some kind of trance or abstraction. And this is a very uh, one of the most uh, in the Buddhist tradition there is a lot of controversy about this. Uh, so because there is the uh, commentary jhanas or hard jhanas sometimes uh, it's called, but here the the instruction of the Venerable Sariputta is not that the mind have to be immersed or be one with the object of meditation. It's just unification. So the mind is directed to our object, orbit around the object. It's not in the object. We have an intention and we have to trust in our intention and we have to be open to that intention and not to feel fear because we fear that we maybe lose our attention on the object of meditation. If we trust in our mind, because why we have to trust? Because we have to understand that if we don't fear this losing our attention, we are going to be very gentle. In this case, we don't have expectations about our meditation. We state our object of meditation, and when the conditions change and my mind is distracted, I apply the 6 R's and return to our objects of meditation with gentleness and kindness. And in the repetition of this attitude, the jhanas will be arise by itself, and we are going to see from this different perspective these jhanas. So because these jhanas, the suttas jhanas, are very open state of mind, we can see all the factors arising and passing away, and we are not so focused that we repress the hindrances. We are open. As if a hindrance arises, it's okay. We just apply the 6R, right effort, and right away, with a relaxed mind, we return to our object of meditation. If we train this attitude, this intention, eventually the jhanas will be a very natural state of mind for us as a meditator. So we have to build our trust in our mind because the development of the mind bring us trust in our mind. That is one of the most important reason to keep the precepts, because the mind is trustful. And if we add to this the practice of serenity and insight, the twin practice, we're going to nourish that trust. So the unification of the mind is just the direction in which the mind is intended to be at that moment. We don't need to put pressure in that. Yeah. Friend, how many factors are abandoned in the first jhana and how many factors are possessed? Friend, in the first jhana, 5 factors are abandoned and 5 factors are possessed. Here, when a bhikkhu has entered upon the first jhana, sensual desire is abandoned, ill will is abandoned, sloth and torpor are abandoned, restlessness and remorse are abandoned, and doubt is abandoned. And there occurs applied thought, sustained thought, rapture, pleasure, and unification of mind. This is how, in the first jhana, 5 factors are abandoned and 5 factors are possessed. The 5 faculties. Friends, these 5 faculties each have a separate field, a separate domain, and do not experience each other's fields and domain. That is the eye faculty, the ear faculty, the nose faculty, the tongue faculty, and the body faculty. Now, of these 5 faculties, each having a separate field, a separate domain, not experience each other's fields and domain. What is their resort? What experience their fields and domains? So here's the question, and the answer of the Venerable Sariputta is this. Friend, these five faculties each have a separate field, a separate domain, and do not experience each other field and domain. That is, the eye faculty, the ear faculty, the nose faculty, the tongue faculty, and the body faculty. So, here is what's showing us. The Venerable Sariputta is, we have these five faculties, and any of these faculties have his own way of experiencing. When I see, I not hear. Yes, there's some, I remember that there is some illness that maybe some of these uh, uh, faculties, if we have some kind of ill in our nervous system, this can be changed. But this is not the case. We are talking about some a healthy human being. Now, these five faculties, each having a separated field, a separate domain, not experience each other's field and domain, have mind as their resort, and mind experience their field and domain. So, any of these five faculties, in this case the five senses, have the mind as their resort, and the mind experiences their fields and domain. So this is a very important thing, because we can experience what we are seeing through our mind. And this has very deep implications. And it's related to the previous statement that feeling, perception, and consciousness. So we can feel in any of the five senses door, we can perceive in any of the five senses door, and is the correspondence consciousness of any of the five sense doors. But this experience that we have in mind is based upon previous experience. So this is the complex relationship between Namarupa, mentality, and materiality, name and form. And this is always related with the consciousness, how I can recognize these relationships. And the consciousness is, uh, like I said before, have its conditions in the sankharas, in the formation. So we have a very complex aspect of the dependent origination. So there is a possibility to see the dependent origination in a linear way. We also can see as a circle, but we also can see a more holistic way, holographic, because many of the links are influenced in many ways. It's not only a dual thing, but we can see that there is a lot of influence between the spots, between the links. Friends, as to these five faculties, that is the eye faculty, the ear faculty, the nose faculty, the tongue faculty, the body faculty, what does these five faculties stand in depends on? Friend, as to these faculties, that is the eye faculty, the ear faculty, the nose faculty, the tongue faculty, the body faculty, these five faculties stand in depends on vitality. So vitality is very important, because vitality is, we can say, the energy that we have in our body, the possibility of life that we have. Friend, what does vitality stand in depends on? Vitality depends on heat. So the vitality is the energy, the heat that we have in our body. Friends, what does heat stands in depends on? Heat stands in dependence of vitality. So again, we have here some uh, whirlpool again, heat and vitality. Just now, friend, we understood the Venerable Sariputta to have said, vitality stands in dependence on heat, and now we understand him to say, heat stands in dependence of vitality. How should the meaning of these statements be regarded? In that case, friend, I shall give you a simile, for some wise men here understand the meaning of this statement by means of a simile. Just as when an oil lamp is burning, its radiance is seen independence of its flame, and its flame is seen independence of its radiance, so too vitality stands independence on heat, and heat stands independence of vitality. So this is a very beautiful simile that show us again this the flame is dependent on the radiance, and the radiance is dependent on the flame. This also this co-dependence. Vital formations. Friends, are vital formation states of feeling, or are vital formation one thing and state of feeling another? Vital formation, friends, are not states of feeling. If vital formation were state of feeling, then when a bhikkhu has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling, he would not be seen to emerge from it, because vital formations are one thing and a state of feeling another. When a bhikkhu has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling, he can be seen to emerge from it. Well, here what is the Venerable Sariputta is describing, that the vital formations are not related to the feeling, but is related to the body itself. So the vitality of the body is something that continues occur during Nirodha Samapatti, during the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness. That is the explanation, because uh, anyone who enters in this state of cessation of perception and feeling will arise of that. If the cessation of perception and feeling, if perception feeling is the same as vital formation, he will die. He would die, sorry. So this is the difference. Friend, when this body is bereft of uh, how many state is it then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log? Friend, when this body is bereft of three state, vitality, heat, and consciousness, it then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log. He is describing death, when we can say that someone is dead, because there is no vitality, there is no heat, and there is no consciousness. Friend, what is the difference between one who is dead, one who has completed his time, and a bhikkhu who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling? Friend, in the case of one who is dead, who has completed his time, his bodily formations have ceased and subside, his verbal formations have ceased and subside, his mental formations have ceased and subside, his vitality is exhausted, his heat has been dissipated, and his faculties are fully broken up. So, this is the description of someone who is dead. In the case of a bhikkhu who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling, his bodily formation have ceased and subside, his verbal formation have ceased and subside, his mental formation have ceased and subside, but his vitality is not exhausted, his heat has not been dissipated, and his faculties become exceptionally clear. So this is a very clear difference. So when we practice meditation, in the second jhana, we are going to, our verbal formation will be ceased. In the fourth jhana, our bodily formations will be ceased. And when we uh, experience the cessation of feeling, perception, and consciousness, our mental formation will be ceased. So this is the difference. And our vitality is still there, our heat is still there, but when we came out of this experience of Nirodha Samapatti, our faculties will be exceptionally clear. That is also a very good reason to train jhanas, because if we experience this Nirodha Samapatti, at least just if at one moment when the mind uh, reboots itself, at that moment our mind is very clear and pristine. We have a very powerful mindfulness. And this can lead us to Nibbana, to the cessation of suffering. This is the difference between who is dead and who has completed his time, and a bhikkhu who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling. Deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for the attainment of neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind? Friend, there are 4 conditions for the attainment of neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind. Here, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain and the previous disappearance of joy and grief, a bhikkhu enters upon and abides in the 4th jhana, which hath neither pain nor pleasure, and purity of mindfulness due to equanimity. These are the 4 conditions for the attainment of neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind. So, here is describing the 4th jhana. It's very important. The Buddha called this jhana the beautiful, because when the 4th jhana generally is used to not only as a path to the ayatanas, but also to develop sometimes the idis, the superpowers, or the abhinyas, the direct knowledge of many things. So is the 4th jhana is a jhana that brings us a lot of balance in our mind, a lot of clarity, and it helps us to develop our equanimity uh, in a very open way. Uh, so this is the point here is this is a kind of deliverance of mind. So because when the mind is equanimity, is free from pain and sorrow, sorry, pain and joy, or pain and pleasure, and any of these uh, dualistic aspect. So the equanimity is a very important point in our training. Friend, how many conditions are there for the attainment of the silence deliverance of mind? Friend, there are 2 conditions for the attainment of the silence deliverance of mind: non-attention to all signs and attention to the silence element. These are the 2 conditions for the attainment of the silence deliverance of mind. So here we talk about we are start to dive in the very deep aspect of the development of the mind. So we have here the deliverance of mind, the signless deliverance of mind. So we don't pay attention to any of this, any sign, and the attention to silence element. So here we have we can talk about from different angles. I want to so the signless state of mind uh, is one of the doorways to Nibbana. The other one is silence, aimless, and emptiness of mind. And this is dependent upon maybe our inclination. If our mind turns to see more easily turns to see more in an easier way anatta, maybe we can choose the emptiness of mind. That is, we can see the void in everything, the void of any aspect of I, me, or myself. If we have more a mind that could see the anicca aspect, the instability, we can see the signless, because any sign is impermanent, is subject to arises and passing away due to causes and conditions. And when we are tired of that, when we start to develop disenchantment, this is a very good possibility to experience this silence deliverance of mind. And the third aspect is aimless, that is the suffering. that is, do not uh, have the intention to uh, be in contact with any of these sankharas. We just let it go because we know that if any sankhara arises at that moment in our mind, that will be suffering itself. So here, these three doorways are the three possible ways to experience nibbana. Friends, how many conditions are there for the persistence of the silence deliverance of mind? Friend, there are three conditions for the persistence of the silence deliverance of mind. Non-attention to all signs, attention to silence element, and the prior determination of its duration. These are the three conditions for the persistence of the silence deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for the emergence of the silence deliverance of mind? Friend, there are two conditions for the emergence of from the silence deliverance of mind: attention to all sign and non-attention to the silence element. These are the two conditions for emergence from the silence deliverance of mind. Friend, the immeasurable deliverance of mind, the deliverance of mind through nothingness, the deliverance of mind through voidness, and the silence deliverance of mind, are these states different in meaning and different in name, or they are one in meaning and different only in name? So here we have, friend, the immeasurable deliverance of mind, the deliverance of mind through nothingness, the deliverance of mind through voidness, and the silence deliverance of mind. There is a way in which these states are different in meaning and different in name. This is the case that I explained before. But we add to this, and now we're here, we're going to see what is the immeasurable deliverance of mind. And there is a way in which there are one meaning and different only in name. What, friends, is the way in which these states are different in meaning and different in name? And here, a bhikkhu abides pervading one quarter with a mind imbued in loving kindness, likewise the second, the third, the fourth, so above, below, around, and everywhere, and to all as to himself. He abides pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility, without ill will. And then the same with compassion, equanimity, and altruistic joy. So this is called the immeasurable deliverance of mind. And this is what we practice in twin meditation. And what, friends, is the deliverance of mind through nothingness? So here is Sariputta explaining here with the complete surmounting of base of infinite consciousness, where there is nothing, a bhikkhu enters upon and abides in the base of nothingness. This is called the deliverance of mind through nothingness. So this is talk about the third ayatana. In this base, it's very interesting because we have a very strong equanimity, very strong mind, and we can see through this, and many people from here sometimes experience direct nibbana because the mind is, if the equanimity is really strong and the understanding is really developed, so we have the possibility to see the emptiness of everything, and this could lead to a maturation and eventually to experience nibbana. And what, friends, is the deliverance of mind through voidness? Here, a bhikkhu going to forest or the root of a tree or an empty hut reflect this. This is void of a self or what belongs to a self. This is called the deliverance of mind through voidness. So here, the bhikkhu, the person who is meditating, could reflect on anything that is void or something is reflected about. There is nothing that we can call me, mine, or myself in anything, in any, not only in my mind, but also in any aspect of the world. And what friend is the silence deliverance of mind, here with non-attention to all sign because enters upon and abides in the silence concentration or collectedness of mind. This is called the silence deliverance of mind. This is the way in which this state are different in meaning and different in name. And what frame is the way in which this state are one in meaning and only different in name. Lust is a marker of measurement, hate is a marker of measurement, delusion is a marker of measurement. In a bhikkhu whose taints are destroyed, they are abandoned, cut off the root, made like a pond stump, done away with so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Of all the kinds of immeasurable deliverance of mind, the unshakable deliverance of mind is pronounced the best. Now, that unshakable deliverance of mind is void of lust, void of hate, void of delusion. So, here is very interesting because lust, hate, and delusion, see, uh, I think that Loba, Dosa, and Moha are a marker of measurement. So it's very interesting this translation because what does this mean? A marker of measurement is something that we can measure or calculate. This is related with manas. It's the mind that is compare everything. I am superior, inferior, or equal to whatever might be. So when our mind is creating something that could be measured, we enter in this kind of realm of samsaric realm because we start to measure, compare things. Then the Sariputta said, lust is something, hate is something, delusion is something. In a bhikkhu whose taint is destroyed, these are abandoned and cut off at the root. He utilized the same formula to describe um, what is going on in an arahant's mind. So here is described: lust is something, hate is something, delusion is something. So in the previous paragraph, we have a measurement, and here we have something, a noun. We are ratifying lust, hate, and delusion. This is something. In the first part, in the previous paragraph, I can calculate if this is something and this is mine. I can relate these two paragraphs in this way. There is something that is superior, inferior, or equal, and is same. I start creating a concept about lust, hate, and delusion. So in the previous paragraph, is saying that this measurement, all of the kind of immeasurable delivers of mind, the angelical deliverer. Now, sorry, I read again. Oh, yes. Now that unshakable delivers of mind. And here, when it's described that lust, hate, and delusion are something, all the kinds of deliverance of mind through nothingness, because here, when we think that there is something, we start to build in our mind that there is me, mine, or myself. So here, nothingness is really could help us. We, when we see the things as they really are, we see emptiness of anything. We just see as a process. There is nothing there that I could say that is permanent or independent. So if our mind turn to see the things as something, to make a noun of everything, this will really help us see through emptiness. And again, lust is a maker of signs, hate is a maker of sign, delusion is a maker of sign. And here, what is help us, that we will help to the meditator, is the signless delivers of mind. So the signs are again concepts. But if we are really rooted in the sea of anicca, in the instability, and in the causes and conditions that are uh, the base from this to the signs arises and passing away, the signless deliverance of mind is here will help us. This is the way in which these states are one in meaning and different only in name. This is what the Venerable Sariputta said. The Venerable Mahakotita was satisfied and delighted in the Venerable Sariputta's word. So, I hope you are enjoyed this sutta. It's a very deep sutta that I read a lot of time, and every time that I read that I give it a new reading, something came up in my mind to reflect on it or help me in my own practice. So we can share merit now. May suffering ones, may suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kind of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they alone protect the Buddha dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much, and metta for all.